Okay. Okay, this is Camille. He's come into the clinic today with Achilles tendonitis. He's a 30-year-old semi-professional distance runner who's developed, as I say, Achilles tendonitis. I'm just going to talk over the video that I've already produced here to explain what's going on and talk about the stages of rehab we're doing. This is an early stage rehab, so in the early stages you basically want to protect the local area, rest, ice, compress and elevate. This helps alleviate any localised swelling which may be present and prevent any local and global pain during the early stages. Passive range of motion can be used to get the area moving if pain allows this. If pain does not allow this, continue with price until able to progress. So I'm starting with some range of motion on Camille here to see the range of motion he's got in his injured leg and his uninjured leg and see if there's any discrepancies. His right leg is his injured leg, and as you can see I'm doing some range of motion just at the ankle here to see what the range of motion is like. I'm doing some plantar flexion here just to see what the range of motion is like, and then I'm going to compare legs to see if there's any discrepancies or any difference and to see what to work on in the rehab program. So on here I'm going onto his left leg, which is an uninjured leg, and this is going to tell me, again doing plantar flexion, if there's any discrepancies between the two legs. I'd always do this at the start of, now we're moving on to dorsiflexion here, I'd always do this in the start of rehab just to test the athlete's range of motion after their injury obviously and see what's different between the left and right leg. This can help to affect your rehab program and see if there's any differences. So I'm just performing dorsiflexion on each leg now. I'm then going to move to inversion on each leg. So starting with the injured leg, I'm just practicing eversion. Again, constantly checking with the patient to see if he's alright, and if there's any pain then you'd stop this, as this is early stage rehab. And then so I'm just doing eversion now after doing inversion, again on the injured leg, to see if there's any differences. And then I'm going to do inversion and eversion on the right leg. Again, constantly checking with the patient to see if there's any pain. I'm then going to get the athlete on the back and do the range of motion in the knee. You'd always try and do it above and below the injury. With the Achilles being injured, you want to do the knee and the ankle for range of motion. So here I'm just testing the flexion of each knee with the patient, again addressing the patient, making sure there's no pain, and then obviously onto the uninjured leg now, doing flexion again with this one. So again performing flexion, just constantly checking with the patient. The patient's then going to come to the end of the bed and we're going to do extension.
We'll then retest this at the end of the session.
Again with the left knee and then the right knee. You then retest this at the end of the session to see if there's any progression/regression, and you can alter your plan according to that. I'd also do this throughout the rehab program just to test if there's any progression, like we say, to see if there's anything we need to work on. As obviously range of motion is important in all sports, but especially in running as well. The patient's now just putting his socks on, and then we're going to go through to the intermediate stage and start with the gym work. I wouldn't do any of this in the early stage, as again you just want to make sure that you don't worsen the injury and just make sure it's keeping its flexibility. So now I'm going to start with some gym work and show the patient obviously what gym work I'm going to be doing.
Again, we'd start off with this would include massage throughout the treatment.
Yeah, also we would include massage throughout the treatment just to help speed up the rehab and increase the range of motion, and also speed up that.
We're just going to do this so the athlete feels comfortable and feels that it's healthy. We're going to start with some nice early/intermediate exercises.
Yeah, so we're starting with some early intermediate exercises here. We're going to start with the step up. I'm going to show Camille how to perform this first, and then once I've showed Camille how to perform this, he is then going to start with his step up. So I'm just showing him how to perform the exercise here. Step ups are a good exercise for the athlete to increase strength. As it's in the intermediate stages, there's not going to be anything too sport specific or too strenuous here, because we don't want to, like I say, make the patient any worse. So just doing some simple step ups is going to help with some light gym work to start with. So as you can see, Camille's performing here. There's no specific sets or reps. We're just going quality over quantity. So we want the patient to perform all the quality movements. So we're now going to do some heel dips. So again, with the patient standing, I'm going to show the patient how to perform the heel dips first, and then the patient is going to perform them. This is going to help, again, as an eccentric exercise to help strengthen the Achilles and the calf, to prevent any further injuries and hopefully help rehab the current injury. If the patient was unable to do this, you could stand by the side and help them. As you can see here, Camille's fine. Again, going for quality over quantity, just making sure the quality is there. We're not interested in quantity, we just want to make sure that the patient's getting the best quality out of each exercise. So if the patient starts to worsen or their form gets worse, you'd then stop the exercise. So as you can see here, Camille's performing the exercise for me. Now, from other research, it's found that calf stretches are a really helpful exercise to do when injuring your Achilles. So I'm teaching Camille here how to do some calf stretches. This is going to help him strengthen his Achilles and also stretch out his Achilles, and is going to show once again help rehab, as there's a lot of research into calf stretches saying that they help with the Achilles. So here you can see Camille just performing the stretches that I've just shown him to do. They're going to hold these for around 20 to 30 seconds to feel the benefit from each one. Again, depending on the level of, but in the intermediate stage, I'd say that's about the right amount of time. So here you can see Camille just performing the exercises. So now Camille is coming on to a second set of calf stretches that we're doing. This is going to be helped by the therapist. Again, just stretching the calf and helping the Achilles flexibility and strengthening as well. So this one has to be helped by the therapist, or you could use another person in the gym, but you most likely like to use a therapist for this. Again, just stretching the calf, making sure with the patient that it's not there's no pain or anything. Now we're going on to some stability exercises. These are going to help the athlete's stability and flexibility, and also help his rehab. This one's a simple ball exercise where he's going to move his foot from left to right, to help the flexibility and also help those patterns of movement. So here you can see Camille is performing the exercises. Whilst comparing the left and right legs to see if there's any differences. Again, this is helping in the calf and the feeling in the calf and the Achilles. These are called proprioceptive exercises. Again, helping proprioception. This is another proprioceptive exercise that I'm gonna show to Camille. This is just standing on the object, moving your foot from left to right, and this is gonna again help. You can use the patient or therapist for this whilst performing the movement to help with stability. Proprioceptive exercises are great for, again, proprioception and helping the athlete regain the feeling and the range of motion and movement in his ankle and his Achilles. Here you can see Camille is using me to help him balance whilst on the ball. This can be used if the patient can't fully do the exercise on his own. So yeah, he's using me here to help him perform the exercises.
We're going to move on to more intermediate stages now. The patient's got through the early stages, so we're going to move on to some intermediate exercises. We're going to start with a sport-specific one, which is going to help.
We're now on the intermediate stage, which we have been on. The patient is going to start with some mountain climbers. This is a sports-specific exercise, it simulates running. So the patient is going to perform the mountain climbers at the moment, just to help have a sports-specific exercise. Again, the patient is we're focusing on quality over quantity, making sure the patient's form is staying as it is, and focusing on that. Once he starts to feel tired, we'll stop that.
Okay, the
exercise.
On the floor, we're just going to show them some band exercises to do.
The next exercises are going to be some band exercises that I'm going to show Camille how to perform. These are done with the patient lying down with his foot out and pulling the band towards him. This is going to help increase the ankle strength and also increase the strength in the foot. As you can see, I'm performing it first, and then I'm going to show Camille to perform it after. So I've just performed the exercise and showed Camille how to do it. Now Camille, the patient, is going to perform the exercise. So again, just checking the patient's doing the movement right, and make sure he's getting his form right. Camille seems to perform the exercise fine here, so you'd let him do that. Obviously, then do both legs and compare and see if there's any differences between left and right flexibility. Again, moving on to the uninjured foot now, just checking if there's any differences between each foot, see if there's any discrepancies that we need to change. Everything looks good from the video, and they both seem to have proper range of motion. Again, this exercise now is a two-legged toe raise. This is moving more towards the late stage, to intermediate to late stages. Again, I'm going to show Camille how to perform the exercise, and then he's going to perform it after. Again, this is an eccentric exercise, which is going to help strengthen the Achilles, which has been shown in a lot of studies to be the best rehab for an Achilles, which is a strengthening exercise. Again, I've shown Camille how to perform it, and now Camille's going to perform the exercise. So as you can see, Camille's performing the exercise here, and I'm just standing next to him just to make sure that he doesn't have any issues whilst performing the exercises. The next exercise is going to be another form of toe raises, but it's going to be a single leg toe raise this time. So you move one foot out of the way, and then use the athlete's help, and then you do the exercises. This is heading more into the late stage of rehab now, as these are a lot more advanced exercises and strengthening exercises. So this is heading towards intermediate / late stage of exercise. But still not fully late, we're still just in the intermediate to late stages now. Again, Camille's using me to support him to help him perform the exercises. Again, focusing on quality over quantity. During this thing, during this stage, you'd help use massage to help range of motion return to pre-injury levels and reduce any pain and swelling and speed up the recovery process.
After this, you're going to move on towards the late stage.
Now we're going to move on towards the late stages of rehab with Camille. You continue with massage until patient Achilles is fully functional, back to training and minimal or no pain. We're going to include a lot more sport-specific activities here, like certain exercises. Again, this is we're focusing on getting Camille back to running now and back into his exercise program. Just doing certain strengthening exercises, a lot of activities. I'm showing here Camille how to do single leg hops. This is a great strengthening exercise. Again, is going to help him return back to sport. This obviously is late stage now, so he's doing the late stage exercises. Obviously, I performed them first, then I'm just showing Camille how to do the exercise. He's going to go through that once more, just to make sure he's doing it. Again, it's quality over quantity. In these, we're not doing a certain amount of reps, we're just focusing on the athlete's form and the quality of movement. Okay, after that as before, we're going to do some double leg jumps with Camille. So I'm going to show him again how to do the exercise first. This is going to be a good strengthener as well, landing on the calf. And the Achilles, and is going to help strengthen it up. So I've shown Camille how to perform the movement, and he's then going to perform the movement for me.
These are more sport specific. They're working the ankle and they're also working the feet as well.
Again, working the ankle and working the Achilles and helping them get back to
We then obviously perform
normal.
mountain climbers again with the patient, but we get them to pick up the speed to do the mountain climbing.
We're now doing mountain climbers, but more advanced. So we're going to get them to pick up the speed and really work on the leg turnover. This is a very sport-specific exercise, as it simulates close to running, which is obviously what the athlete's sport, which is aiming to get back to. So as you can see, Camille is doing a lot more quicker turnover than we were doing in the intermediate stages of this exercise. We're going to keep going again until Camille is tired. So there we go, finish that now.
We're going to move on to some more core exercises when on the ball.
We're going to now move on to some core exercises while on the Bosu ball. This is going to help strengthen the global areas, as well as obviously we've been working on the local areas with the ankle and the knee, but this is going to help strengthen the core, which is imperative in every training program to help the core strength. I'm going to start off here showing Camille how to do the exercises. So we're just doing a squat on a Bosu ball here. You can obviously progress this exercise by adding weight, which we'll be showing later on. But first, you just want to make sure Camille's happy performing the exercise. As you can see, if he's struggling a bit, you can go towards him and help him, but he seems to be okay, although his legs are a bit wobbly. Again, as his legs are not performing the best, we'd cut the exercise a bit early to prevent anything happening. I'm now going to show Camille how to perform the exercise with added weight. So again, it's the same exercise, but it's just adding weight, which is a way to progress the injury. Obviously, you can add more weight as you get further on to help progress and help strengthen. It's a good way to progress the injury, to progress the exercise and make it a harder exercise.
This is going to be again a late stage. You're adding weight to the exercise.
Again, this is late stage. These are late stage activities here, which are going to be used during the later stages of rehab when the athlete is about to get back to starting training. So again, we're not doing as many reps as we would usually, because you can see Camille is struggling a bit with the exercises, so we'd stop them quite a bit earlier. We're now moving on to the last exercise.
We're now going to do one last late exercise.
One of the last exercises, which is going to be a single leg squat on a raised surface. So as you can see, we're getting a raised surface, and we're going to do a single leg squat on that. Again, this is working on your global areas with your core, and also working on your flexibility and your making sure that you're stable on your feet, which is a great exercise. Again, I can use the therapist or the athlete to help you perform this movement. So again, now Camille is going to perform this movement with my guidance and making sure that it's stable whilst doing it. And you're going to do it on each leg to compare the differences and see if there's any difference between each leg. Again, here Camille's performing the exercise. He's now going to do it on his injured leg and see if there's any differences. Again, if the patient's feeling any pain or anything, you'd stop this, but this is in late stages now, so there should be less pain present. So now we're doing one last exercise, which is good for running, which is in the plank position, and just moving your legs from left to right. This is going to again help the core and also help the strength in your legs, which is obviously good for a runner. So here is Camille's performing it with my guidance again, making sure that the movement's fine. So as you can see, Camille's performing the movement, just making sure that he's doing it properly. Again, quality over quantity in these reps.
After that, I'm going to show the patient one more running exercise that can be used. Patient is on the floor.
Now we're showing the patient the last exercise which can be used. The patient's going to get on the floor with his knees up and just lift his leg up, and then the opposite arm. This is going to help with coordination and also flexibility, and help reduce the risk of any further injuries.
This is also a very sport-specific one, used by a lot of runners in the rehab program.
This is a very sport-specific injury used by a lot of runners during the rehab programs, and is again going to help with his coordination and reduce the risk of injury / re-injury.
You'd like to stop there. Again, this is all being throughout done with massage and
again, this is all going to be combined with massage. We're going to retest range of motion, which can return to at any time during treatment to see any improvement or regression. So we're going to retest that now. Also, it's quality over quantity. You can do as many reps or as many lifters as you want, as long as they're done well. It's not time driven by range of motion or pain. It needs to be individual for each patient. You can also give the athlete stretches and foam rolling, etc. to take home, which can be done at home, obviously, throughout the rehab program. I'm just retesting Camille's range of motion here. I'd also do some resisted, which is just going to test the strength and see what we need to work on in his rehab program. But at the moment, I'm just testing his range of motion after the treatment to see if there's any differences. Like I say, I'd move on to range of motion resisted to see the strength testing throughout the treatment in the future, and then retest that to see if there's any progression again. We're just going to finish off with some knee exercises, range of motion, to test if there's been any difference throughout the sessions. He's going to first perform flexion on each knee. He can now do the exercise actively as well, as this is late rehab. The patient can perform them on his own, as well as doing it passively with the athlete, with the therapist helping the patient. So now we're doing some resisted range of motion, which is what I was mentioning, to see if there's any strength discrepancies that need to be addressed between the legs in the athlete. He's now going to perform extension actively first, so he's doing it on his own, seeing if there's any differences. He's then going to do. I'm then going to do some resisted with the patient, just testing the muscle strength again, seeing if there's anything that needs to be worked on. Obviously, if there's any weaknesses, this can impact your training program. So now we're just moving on to the resisted ankle exercises with the eversion and inversion, to test then again if there's any muscle discrepancies or any strength discrepancies, then they can be worked on in the rehab program. So he's just now doing plantar flexion and then dorsiflexion, again testing the strength of the muscles, which can be worked on. Once this is all done, this should only be done during resistant muscle testing. Should only be done during late rehab, and you shouldn't do that at all during early or intermediate. This should only be at the end, and then you can address any changes. Thanks a lot for listening, and goodbye.